Welcome, everyone, to another edition of D7 Toastmasters Pathways Virtual Academy. I am your guide, James Wants. I have my fifth helmet given to me by a member who said a guide needed a helmet because in the jungles of Pathways, you don't know what type of software is going to fall on your head. So I wear a helmet just to keep safe as I'm digging through things. I have a few things that I want to cover tonight because I've been getting some questions on basics again, because the fact that most people in the district have not started into Pathways indicates that there is a lot of a lack of information just about the pure basics of Pathways. But first, I am going to give my much delayed, usual shameless plug for the Pathways AAA Award. This is an award that was the brainchild of Kate Arnold about getting people more interested in Pathways. Involves the Early Adopter, Early Achiever, and Early Advisor Award. So simply put, the award is, the Early Adopter is that you sign up for your first path and you give your icebreaker speech, and that's the first award. Then the Early Achiever is that you complete your first path in, first level in any path that's just level 1. Then the Early Advisor is that you help someone with some implementation of Pathways, whether it's answering questions, pointing them to a resource, or guiding them through a project. Now, the form you see on the right-hand side is a form that I've mailed out via Vertical Response, which is the mass email marketing platform that District 7 uses, to every member in the district a few times, and I am planning to do this again later on this week. So hopefully, you will see a copy of this form show up in your inbox. If it's not in your inbox, check your spam filter. And this form has the links to the forms where you can record your information and earn each of these 3 awards. At this time, if you earn all 3 of these awards, I will personally mail you one of these, and we'll get it up here next to the camera. Get in focus. Anyway, it is a District 7 Toastmasters Be Extraordinary pin. Complete all 3 of the Pathways AAA, and I will mail you one of those pins. I have already sent out 10 pins. That means that we have at least 10 people that have completed their first level in any path. We have more than that, but we have a lot of people that are moving forward. Now, the Early Adopter deadline, which is different than the one on this sheet because this was the old deadline. The new Early Adopter deadline, I believe, is tax day, like April 15th or the end of March. Anyway, we are pushing them out to get people more interested. The final deadline for the official award is the end of the Toastmasters year, which is June 30th. Yes, June 30th. And that is the last point at which I will be processing awards and mailing out pins. So that's my shameless plug for the AAA award. We'll send out that information. Please pass it on to anyone who is interested in Pathways, because I've got a lot of these pins I'd really like to mail to people. And they're pretty cool, for that matter. I mean, it's a free pin. Go for it. Okay, the next piece of fantastic information that I want to share with you is this handout, which you're looking at on the screen right now, is the #1 best piece of information to help explain Pathways that I have found inside of Toastmasters. And up until tonight, I could not find it on their webpage. Let me explain what this form is. This sheet is an 11-page handout that goes through every single one of the 10 paths and explains what the projects are for each of those levels. So we're looking at it on the screen. On the left-hand side, up near the top, we have Effective Coaching. That is the name of that particular path. Under that path, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the different levels. Under the first level, Mastering Fundamentals, you get the Icebreaker, Evaluation and Feedback, and then Research and Presenting. Those are the 3 projects that are part of Level 1. Now, by a happy coincidence, Level 1 is exactly the same for all 10 paths, because they want you to do pretty much the same intro material for every single path. So Level 1 consists of 4 speeches and 1 evaluation. Level 2 is where everything starts to individuate itself. The effective coaching projects start leaning towards coaching, like leadership style, communication style. Whereas if you look over on the right-hand side, innovative planning starts leaning towards that, connecting with audience and leadership style again, because that dovetails into so many different areas. But each of these paths is described so that you see what the project names are. Now, at the very top of it, we can get to the home page. The very first page shows the names of all 10 paths and the core concepts that Toastmasters wanted to hold true for each of those paths. And those core concepts are on that left-hand side. Number 1 being public speaking, interpersonal communication at number 2, 3, strategic leadership, 4, management, and bringing it in at number 5 is confidence. You can see on the right-hand side, next to each of the descriptions of the paths, which of those core competencies they have held true inside of those paths. Now, if you look down the list here at presentation mastery, you see only a number 1 and a number 5. That is because presentation mastery focuses on presentations, and pretty much that's all that it does. So it doesn't get into the leadership stuff, so you're not getting the interpersonal communication, the strategic leadership, or even the management aspects of those. So each path has a different, specific, very personal approach depending on which way you want to go. This resource is the gold standard, as far as I'm concerned, for letting people know, especially prospective new members in the club, or even seasoned members who've been around for a while, of letting them know what is inside of Pathways. Up until this point, I was offering to send the PDF, or if I was at a training event, I'd hand out the color copies. Now I can show you exactly where to find this on the Toastmasters webpage. This is magic. I love it. Okay, let's go to the Toastmasters International webpage, which that is where we are right now. I am not logging in at this point to show you that anybody has access to this resource and it's not under a login. So in the search box in the upper right-hand side, now this is the tricky part. You need to search for Chief Ambassador Tools. Yep, absolutely, that's where I had to find it. Chief Ambassador Tools. Once I click on that to find it, that will bring up the Chief Ambassador Tools. Now, the Chief Ambassador is the #1 person for the district who was tasked with helping the rollout for Pathways. So this is the packet of all the information that they were provided with to make their job easier. Once you find Chief Ambassador Tools, click on it, and it will give you this whole list of all the tools that they had access to. The one that I am specifically directing you to is Pathways, Paths, and Core Competencies, right here. That is the form that I have up in my PDF browser. If you click on that, it will bring it up in a preview browser for you, which you can then download to your own computer. This is a fantastic piece of information that I strongly, strongly advocate any club to have a few copies of this on hand for new members or prospective new members to help them to explain what Pathways is all about and kind of give them that first little tidbit of information about, hey, what path do I want to choose? Well, these are the paths and this is where they're directed. So that's the first piece of information I wanted to give you, is where to find that. Now, of course, if you have trouble finding it, please go ahead and email me and I will absolutely send you the PDF myself. My email, I've got it up here on the screen now. I have several of them, but this is a good one for now. prm@d7toastmasters.org. Now, the PRM stands for Public Relations Manager, which I happen to be this year. So I've taken it on as my task to evangelize Toastmasters and help people get a lot more comfortable with it. And that form right there, that is just, it's the gold standard. Absolutely gold. Okay. The next piece of basic Pathways information that we're going to get to is, correction, I'm backing up one spot to show you where you can also find the AAA award information. Every month from here on out in the Voices magazine, which lives on the D7 website or gets dropped into your email box by Phyllis, in this month's issue, January issue, on page 24, you have on the right-hand side an explanation of, yep, the AAA award, as well as the hyperlinks to go directly to the forms to enter the information so that I can send you your PIN when you complete the projects. Now, just so happens that on the other side of the page is all the information to get to these video calls right now, which I am planning to continue at least through the end of March. I'll probably be doing them for the rest of this year just because we have so much information. So look in Voices, you'll find that stuff here. If you want to find previous videos that we've done here on, well, for this, go to YouTube, and then on YouTube search for D7 Pathways Virtual Academy, something along those lines, and darn it, there, look, there it is right there, D7 Pathways Virtual Academy. This is the playlist that has all of the videos that I've put up so far, which is an introduction to Pathways as well as the different sessions that I have put out on previous days. I'll click on one of those real quick. Whoops. There we go, and I'm going to pause this video. What I'm doing now is in the comment section below, I'm putting time tags for different pieces of information that we discussed in that video, so you can jump right to that point of the video to get the information. Like on this one, Pathways AAA Award, right here, you click on the 153, it takes you right there. If you want info on New Pathways tab, you click on the 542. If you're interested in logging into Basecamp, the 640. I'm working at putting those on all of the videos so that they have quick links directly to them. Okay, the other place you can find this information is on the D7 Toastmasters webpage. That is d7toastmasters.org. And then on that webpage, we have a brand new tab that says Pathways. And by clicking on Pathways, you have a link to all of the content that we have posted so far, which at this point is the videos. These are the videos that I have done in those sessions. They're direct links back to YouTube, but we're going to be putting more material here as well. So that's where you find the information. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. Let's go directly back to Toastmasters International. Let's go to the home page. Okay, so let's say you are either a new Toastmaster or a seasoned Toastmaster that is interested in starting your path. How do you do that? This is how. Come to the Toastmasters.org webpage, log in. If you haven't already logged in previously, you click on your login, select that, and enter the information. If you have it saved, then you can do it that way. Once you are logged in, I click on the Pathways tab. Brand new, hasn't been there since the beginning, just showed up at the beginning of December, which is great. Then you can access path through Basecamp or take the assessment or even choose a path. So for this example, we're going to say we want to choose a path. This is to choose your very first path to get active inside of Basecamp. Now you'll notice at this time that there is a warning message saying that on Friday, February 9th, the site will be down for maintenance. Now that to me is good news, because that means that they are updating lots of the issues and taking care of some of the bugs that we have run into previously. So I see this as a good thing. Just remember not to try to log in on Friday the 9th. That would be just in a few days. Okay, we are looking at the Pathways Learning Experience page, which even after you've chosen your path, this is where you will land. You have 3 friendly blue boxes with even friendlier maroon touch bars underneath those, which are links. On the left-hand side is the Choose Your Path box. That's where you go when you first get here to choose your path. If you've chosen your path and you want to access Basecamp, that is this second blue box. You log in as member. This drop-down arrow If you are a member of one club and one club only, this arrow will not show up for you. It shows up for me because I'm a member of 3 clubs as well as a Pathways guide. So I have 4 different ways of how I can log into Basecamp. But if you're only a member of one, you only get one option. So you just go directly as log in as member and it takes you right there. The right-hand box is the navigator. This launches an interactive, kind of a how-to explanatory piece called the navigator, which takes you through some of the basic questions about Pathways, about how Pathways and Toastmasters interacts in the meeting, as well as providing new members some really good information about how to overcome nervousness, how to handle the jitters, some basic information about communication and public speaking. If you haven't read the navigator, I encourage you to do that. They've got video links in there as well as just a whole bunch of information for prospective and current Toastmasters. Okay, let's focus on that first box. Choose your path. Now you notice there are 2 options here. You have yourself and you have another member. 99% of the time when you come in here, you're going to be choosing your path for yourself and not anybody else. What this button is for is if a member in a club decides to do Pathways but only wants to receive manuals, does not want to do any of it online, then an officer in the club can come in here, click on this, and order the path for that member. The reason why that member doesn't do it is because either they don't have internet access, they're not internet savvy, or they just don't want to deal with the intertubes. You know, they get clogged so often. If you choose to go with manuals only, you will not have access to the web page for Pathways. You'll have access to Toastmasters International, but not Basecamp as a web page. So that's a caution. I'll explain a little bit more about that as we go. So you click the Yourself, continue to Path Selection. Here it will give you the basic information about the costs. Now you'll notice they recommend Basecamp on the left. Every path is $20 unless this is the first path you're choosing, then it should say free. If you're a member and you haven't chosen a path and this doesn't say free, then you want to contact Toastmasters because members they paid for their first path. So anything beyond that, you have to pay for an additional $20. Unless you are a member of multiple clubs at rollout, so the first 2 paths are free, but that second path, you still have to contact Toastmasters to get them to unlock it for you. So on the left, they recommend Basecamp, which is the online interactive. On the right-hand side is the printed materials. You will notice the cost is significantly higher. They charge an additional $25 to print out the manuals and mail them to you. Now, if you are like me and are a bit of a techie but really love the hard copy, I can assure you that if you choose Basecamp, you have complete access to the entire manual that you would get in the printed format. If you have a color printer, it'd even be in color. And if you've got cardstock, you can print your own manual. Now, myself, I just print it out in black and white, and that works well enough for me because I still like hard copy. I'm a bit of a throwback in that regard. But you have access to the full manual. You don't lose any of that access once you go into Basecamp. You just have more access. So for the 95, let's make up a number. I think 67% of all numbers are made up on the spot anyway. So the 99% of people that are going to choose to go with Basecamp as their option, you click on the Take Your Assessment button. This brings up a series of menus where you choose, you walk right through them, and you answer the questions. First of all, you have language, which is good because they've added more languages, which is even better. And you click Start, and this will take you through a series of questions. When I did it the first time, I think I took about 15 minutes to go through the questions, read them all, make sure I answered correctly, and then selected what I wanted to go for. This right here, the first 10 of these, coincidentally, are all tied to the 10 paths. It's asking you what you're interested in. So you pick your 3, well, let's say public speaking, time management, project planning. Then you move forward, and then it asks among those 3, well, which one are you really interested in? I got to work on my time management better. So then it starts asking a few more questions. This whole process goes through, ask you some general questions as well as specific questions to try to figure out where you want to head and what path they want to recommend to you. I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now for time purposes, but I will show you at the end of all of that. I think it's this page. Yes. When you finish the self-assessment, it pops up 3 paths that they recommend for you. The one on the very left they call the best match. That is the one based on your responses that they figure is going to be the best path, considering how you responded and other algorithmic variables that we don't have the ken of. The other paths that were listed, you have the other options, and if for that matter you are not interested in any of the 3 paths, you've got your heart and your mind set on something else, then what I'm going to do is skip the assessment, and it'll take us to, this is the choice. So you can go through and choose any one of the 10 available paths that are on the screen to start yours. Now you may notice that 2 of these are grayed out for me. Those are the 2 paths that I currently have active, so that I can't purchase another copy of those until I have finished working both of those paths. From here, you click on the Choose Your Path. This will take you into Toastmasters Order Processing Center. It treats this as a standard order, although it's going to be digital delivery content because you're not going to get anything in the mail. But it's going to go through, ask you to verify all your information, step you through your payment methods, et cetera, and I'm not going to do that so you don't get my Visa number, which, well, all right, it's got a negative balance at this point, but we won't worry about that. Step through that information, and if we get back to the right page, boom, boom. After you have entered the information, Toastmasters will send you an email where your order confirmation, you get a number, as well as providing you the information with, this is the path you ordered. See down here at the bottom it says Presentation Mastery. That's the first path I ordered. This gives you links so you can click on these and go directly to the Pathways start page, or you can come back to Pathways. We'll go back to the home page here real quick. You come back to Pathways once it has processed your order. Click on the Pathways tab, click on the Access My Path through Basecamp, which brings you to the same window. Then you click in the second box. This is where you're going to log in and get to the curriculum itself. So this is the login as member. Once you have clicked on that, you are now, with a pause, you are officially inside of Pathways Basecamp. You've got a sign in the lower left-hand corner that says, Welcome to Basecamp. If this is the first time that you come here, they will give you the option of taking a guided tour explaining the search functions as well as how to navigate and what things are about. I highly recommend that because it'll tell you exactly what the links are, what the buttons are, and how to get around. For now, we're going to do kind of that quick and dirty. You have this 3 lovely pictures at the top. I'm going to get rid of that warning message. There we go. Then you have 5 brand new, wonderful, friendly buttons across the bottom. Navigating Basecamp, which is the how-to of how to get around. Then you have My Educational Transcript, or in fact, Your Educational Transcript. My Feedback, My Badges, and Speech Evaluations. To get to your curriculum, that is inside of the My Educational Transcript. Simply click on the blue button. This takes you to your educational transcript, which will show absolutely everything that you have looked at in the process of looking through Pathways, whether it's evaluations, resources, tutorials, videos, or even path curriculum. All of those show up here, and as you can see, I have several items that I have looked at and live in this right here. The first time you come in, your path will be the primary curriculum. You can identify that path by that icon that is that stacked book. Those are paths or curriculum oriented. I have 4 of them because I've got the Pathways Guide task that I do as a Pathways Guide, the Pathways Mentor Program that I was invited into by completing level 2, which is free to anyone once they complete level 2 of any path. It's a free path. Then I have my two curriculum, which is presentation mastery and strategic relationships. For this example, I'm going to click on strategic relationships because I haven't done any work in here, so it won't show a lot of things are completed. So you click on the right-hand side, the first time you come in, I believe, nope, it does say open curriculum. You click on open curriculum, it will show you on level 1, or at least it should. You have a level indicator on the left-hand side, which is a hot link to each of the levels and all of the project listings there. You have the percent bar of how complete you are with this entire path, which refreshes itself as you complete projects. And then you have a breakdown of the various projects. Now, if you remember earlier, I said that level 1 of every single path is exactly the same. And that is true. You have icebreaker, evaluation and feedback, and research and presenting. So it doesn't matter if you're in presentation mastery, innovative planning, strategic relationships, level 1 will always look the same. Once you get in here, before you've opened any curriculum, these maroon buttons will say activate. After you've clicked on the button that says activate, which activates that curriculum for you kind of in the background, sets it up, then it turns to launch. Once you click on launch, that's when it opens up in a pop-up window. Now here, if you don't have pop-up blockers disabled, Pathways will give you a message saying, hey, you've got pop-ups disabled, we can't open your curriculum, could you please go in and turn those off just for this site? And it will kind of give you a how-to of where to find that in most of the browsers, I believe. Once you have disabled your pop-up blocker just for this website, which is toastmasterscsod.com, because they're using a learning, I forget the name of the learning platform they're using, but it's an online curriculum platform that opens in a new page. Once you come in here, this is what your project is going to look like. It's a series of pages that you interact with and work through. You click on the button that says begin, or if you've been here before, you can click the easy access arrow and go directly to whichever page of the project you need to. When you click on the begin button, it tells you how to navigate through, which is really good. Notice these gray chevrons on either side of the screen. That's how you get forward and back in your project. And if, when you get in here, you do not see them, it very well could be that your page isn't big enough. So try resizing your window and see if you can get to those. Now, this happens to be the exact reason why Pathways will not work on a mobile device. Because although the regular web page can be easily, well, maybe not easily, can be navigated on a mobile phone, this pop-up window will not resize. So you're going to get this huge image of this guy's face, and you won't be able to get to either of the arrows on either side to navigate away from it, at least currently. I'm hoping, and I'm pretty certain, that they are going to modify Pathways so it works with Lee's, because everybody's got one of these. Once you're in here and used to navigation, left and right, step through your project, read your information, it will tell you exactly what to do. Then you can, and I'm going to jump right to it. Complete, is it? No, that's project checklist. Okay, here. I jumped right to the your resource page, which is the same for all projects. This is where you can find a PDF, the manual for each of these projects. This project, the evaluation and resource, has 2 speeches and 1 evaluation project. That's why there's 3 different evaluation resources here. But this final one that says print my project, that's the one I'm interested in. By clicking on that, opens in a PDF browser. This is the entire manual for that second project. Now in the upper left-hand corner, if you can see my page count, it says page 1 of 27. So this is 27 pages. You have the entire project as well as you have the evaluation page. So by printing out your project, you have your evaluation that you can take to your club, hand to somebody in your club to give a hard copy evaluation for you, or you can email it to your evaluator. They can fill it out on their laptop, or if they want to drag their tower computer in, or maybe even a tablet, because Pathways will work with all three of those, but not mobile phones just yet. By printing out your entire project, you have that. You're not required to do that, so if you'd rather interact with it online, there's absolutely no reason to print it out or download it. Don't need to whatsoever. You can simply interact with that in a pop-up window right here as you step through your project. There are little Easter eggs inside of every project, some of which I've found that I really enjoy, and I'm going to leave those as unique finders for each of you as you go, because I haven't gone through all the levels, so I don't know what all of them are, but I really like some of the videos. They're professionally done and very descriptive. I mean, for people who learn by seeing somebody, the videos are great because they walk right through the steps of how to put stuff together. If you have interacted with your project and you're done with that, you simply close the window. Once you close the window, you see the page is refreshing right now. This is checking to see if you marked it as complete, because if you marked your project as complete by going to the very last page where it says, congratulations, you've completed the project, then this little red and white check mark shows up on your project as saying you have completed your project. So yes, it is possible to get the red and white check mark without actually having given a speech in your club. If you tab through your entire project all the way to the page that says congratulations, and I will open that on this project, if you make it all the way to that page, then that check mark will show up and you will have effectively completed that project. Don't fret, don't worry. It doesn't mean that you can't go back and interact with it again. In fact, I'm showing you that you can, because you can reopen and launch any of the projects that you have done previously. Depending on the size of the project will dictate how long it takes to actually open that in a pop-up window. So you just kind of watch the clogged intertube spin and get mesmerized by moving. Anyway, when you reopen your project, it takes you back to the page that you were on when you closed it. So I closed it on the congratulations page, and that's where it has reopened my project back to. If I want to go back to my project, as in printing out my project or any of the evaluation forms, I can click that your evaluation, then I have direct access to downloading those as PDFs. So once again, when you get to, whoops, not that one, this page, which is the same in all projects, that is when this lovely little red check mark will show up next to your project. So don't fret if you get there before you have completed your project in your club. Just schedule it with your VPE, do your speech, and then if you haven't gotten the check mark, you can come back in here and work through and get that check mark, because there is a pre-assessment and a post-assessment aspect of your project that you can find inside of your curriculum. But then that's how you get your lovely little check mark. Okay, so I have yammered now for about 35 minutes, and I'm going to close that one. I am going to open it up for some questions at this point of material that I have covered, or anything that I may have sped through so fast that you didn't quite figure out what I was saying. So I will unmute a couple people there. If anyone has a question, go for it. Hearing crickets.
Nate, it's Marv.
Go for it.
Based on our previous conversation and the email that I had sent, you're aware that there's some Cavaliers online now listening to this presentation.
Yes.
Would you mind just
my little window down there? Hello.
This program is replacing the entire Toastmaster syllabus. They have gone through and are working their way through the basic 10 speeches in the CC manual. they could do that here in the pathways. So this is replacing that. But I guess based on our conversation, I'm trying to get them introduced to something that goes beyond the basic manual. So when they're done, eventually, if Toastmasters can make this happen, they can transition right into this online training curriculum, which would be ideal to carry them even further.
Correct.
Prepare them for when they actually join a Toastmaster club.
Correct.
Right?
There is a lot of the material that they will be very familiar with, as in the icebreaker, the research and presenting, and several of the speech assignments, because they are directly from the Competent Communicator Manual. But as they move further into the levels, and you can see, you'll be able to see that on, let's bring up the sheet right here. If we look at level 3 of the dynamic leadership, on the right-hand side in kind of this pinkish box, you have elective projects. Out of all of these elective projects on level 3, you choose 2 of them. Now, some of these look familiar from a lot of the advanced manuals that we've done in Toastmasters, such as effective body language, understanding vocal variety, that's from the CC manual, focusing on positive, inspiring audience, presentation software, which is a new one because there wasn't a whole huge emphasis on presentation software before. But then when you step into level 4, look at the electives there. This stuff is new. Create a podcast. Never has existed within Toastmasters. Building a social media presence. Hasn't existed there at all. Managing difficult audience. Okay, difficult audiences are everywhere. But, you know, it's actually a project that helps you there. This information, when I first saw Pathways, this is what got me over my frustration and said, you know, those look interesting because I'm kind of interested in doing a few of those, but never thought I'd do them inside of Toastmasters. So the Gavaliers will find a lot of the information is the same because they've set it up for new Toastmasters, but there are a lot of advanced projects as you get further into the paths, which can specifically be tailored to whichever approach the individual wants to do. And this is the part that I really enjoy. So that's the long way around of explaining my answer to your question.
No, thank you. I just wanted to offer a little more perspective for them.
Yep. There's familiar stuff as well as a whole bunch of new things.
Nice job.
Now, we are familiar as, I believe we are we seasoned Toastmasters? I think so. Seasoned Toastmasters to the DTM, the dynamic distinguished Toastmaster, being the highest award that is awarded to a Toastmaster. That indication still remains. So anybody who's a DTM will still be a DTM. Although all of the other letter achievements that were in the legacy system will be going away. So if you've got like a CC or a CL after your name, at the end of the 2-year rollout period, those will go away and they will switch entirely over to a Pathways specific recognition. And that means that after your name, it will be the 2 letters of whatever path you're in. For example, if you're doing dynamic leadership, and then whichever level you have completed. So for me, I completed 4th level of presentation mastery. So my name would be PM4 after that. I'm already a DTM, so it doesn't replace that. But there's a lot of comment about the fact that those letter designations will be going away because, you know, it takes people a lot of effort to get to the point where they're able to achieve the ACB or the ACG, and they just don't want them to disappear. And I understand that. There's also the opportunity, though, within Pathways to refine the skills and, you know, get a whole new set of curriculum that you're being familiar with. So we're seeing the passing away of certain modalities that we're very familiar with in Toastmasters, but the DTM still remains. And the path towards DTM is laid out and is achievable by everyone, really. So that part of it is going to stick around, and you can still get to your DTM quite easily. Any other questions? I did have a
James, this is
question.
Nate.
Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
James, my name is Nate Copper, and I'm the counselor for the Cavalier Club up here in Battleground.
Great.
I'm here with 3 of the officers of our club, just learning. Thank you for making this presentation and for letting it sit in.
Yep.
We are, I'm running a bunch of high schoolers, and I don't believe any of them have ever gone to Toastmasters.org or tried to log in at all, because there's been no reason to. We've been working completely off of the manuals. And as a club, we need to make a decision on whether or not to explore this in this next half. The officers change every 6 months in our club to have practice to be leaders. Is there any advice you would give us if we wanted to try this on a small scale with maybe 2 or 3 of the officers and let them, you know, they've made it through their Confident Communicator book. We've got several people who are going to hit that milestone in the next month, and then they're looking for the next step. I think there's 3 of them, and they're engaged, they're invested, and willing to try new things. Is there someone we could work with who would walk us through the basics of just giving them each a login to Toastmasters website, and then I could work with them on, you know, trying it on a small scale before we go all in? Or do you think it would be better to wait 6 months until the rough edges are kind of worked through at Toastmasters and then jump in the latter half of this year? What's your thoughts or advice there?
As far as pathways, I say jump in now and get used to it. But there is a huge caveat, and I talked to Marv about this as well as Bob Hall. We had a session where we were talking the other night. Part of the issue currently is that Toastmasters International doesn't recognize Cavaliers as official members. And what I mean by that is that if you are a member and have a membership ID number, then you can go to Toastmasters.org and sign in using that membership ID number. From what I understand about how Gavel clubs are worked, the club itself has an ID number, but not the individuals inside of that. And that is an issue that's going to need to be researched and ironed out with Toastmasters International, because it very well could be that they're going to be resistant to incorporating minors as full members, and I don't know what that is all about, but I know that there are certain security protocols that need to be put in place whenever minors have, you know, an interaction with an online company. I talked a bit to Marv about how to pursue that one, and I believe he's going to check in with a contact he had at Toastmasters. What I would suggest, now this is the completely unofficial response, if that was an official response, if you want to get kind of into Pathways and see what it's all about, are you a member? Well, you have to be, aren't you? You're a member of another club, right, Nate?
I'm not. I used to be a member of Marv's club, but I haven't been for the last couple of years, and my focus solely right now is on helping this club.
Okay. Well, if the
I could enroll again. It would just be to gain access to the site. But
right.
I wouldn't mind going through the cost of doing that for the club.
Yeah,
but my goal is to help this club.
That would be my recommendation as far as seeing what Pathways is about, because then you could use your login and sign up for a path and be able to look at the curriculum and print out the manuals for it. The downside of that is that each of the paths is $20. So if you're going to buy multiple paths for people to look at, that's, it's going to be up there.
I subsidize the club as it stands right now. I'm fine with that.
What you may want to try and do is go to Toastmasters.org and log in under the club's ID and see if the club can purchase paths. Because if the club can purchase individual paths, then under the club, you can then download that information and allow them to have access to it. That would be something to research.
Okay.
That's an idea.
That's good. Because if I bought them all, $20 times all
so you're
10,
talking,
$200.
$200.
Then we could print PDFs of the 10 paths.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'd have access to Basecamp so that somebody could go in if you just set it up as a kind of a generic login, and people could go in there and interact, look at the videos, do the projects online. There's nothing that says you can't do a project multiple times, so you can do that.
Now, one of the nice things is that once you have an individual member number, this system tracks your entire record of accomplishment from day one all the way till the time you're a DTM. So you can always go back and look at your history.
Well,
So
I'm sold on the process, so I don't think I need to explore it further. I'm sold on the direction that Toastmasters is going. It makes a lot of sense. I'm more interested in how do I help the club get started in that direction.
Yep.
So as a first step, what I'll probably do, Marv, is maybe register, re-register under your club and get access to the website again. And then I'll go in and we'll start a couple of these with some of the more tenured members and, start small, but, over a couple of months and see how it goes. And we'll just work with the PDF manuals for now. And then we can work with them in the background with Toastmasters International to see if we can figure out a way to get Cavaliers registered. But I know we have legal issues. You also have funding issues. It looks like the website has a bunch of third-party plugins, which are probably paid by, member. So it'd be difficult for Toastmasters to give that away without getting some sort of revenue for it. Anyway.
Cool. Hey, Marv, I just got you a new member.
I'm glad he's coming back. I'm glad he's coming back. He's a good one.
Hey, I'm like a bad dinner, man. I won't go away.
No. Now, one of the differences with the Pathways program then to the manuals that we had before, once you have a manual in your hand, it's easy to go from project 1 to project 10 and do it. With the online system, until you complete the first level, I can click on level 2, but I can't open any of the projects and look at the curriculum. So this is going to require, as you go through and look at the stuff, Nate, that you're going to need to go through, essentially complete them to open up the next level so you can get access to those projects. So
I will be the fastest progressing Toastmaster in history then.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just work with, with the VPE in that club, just explain what you're doing, and then you can go through, open up these projects, but not necessarily log them as educational awards with Toastmasters. Because there's the two-step process. You get access here, and then you log them as an educational award so the club gets credit. But you guys can work that out however you want to on your own, and I can remain completely oblivious to whatever's going on in the background. Yeah.
No, we'll give you plausible deniability, James.
Thank you. I'm sorry. What's your name again? I don't even know you. Who are you? Where am I? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's see. I did have a question before we started. Janet asked about how to track members' project through Pathways. Now, this is a question that I have to refer her off to a VPE, because within Basecamp Manager, which is the VPE's access to Pathways, where they can see members and approve projects, I don't have that access, so I'm not able to answer that question. So I am going to refer her to 2 other people that do have that access so that they can answer that question directly. All right. Now, are there any other? I'm looking at my list of questions from previous to see if I've got anything I can cover on those, or if anybody else has anything. Okay, so a couple other basic navigational tips for Basecamp. This is the Basecamp homepage. Down at the bottom, you have a link that returns you to the Pathways start page. That's how you get back to the Toastmaster.org page, because you can see the browser is the csod.com, so we're not actually on Toastmasters.org anymore. Inside of Basecamp here, the other big question is, where do you find evaluation resources? This big blue button on the far right-hand side that says Speech Evaluations, this has a speech evaluation, that form that I showed you on that other page, which kind of looks like this. has a speech evaluation for every single project inside of Pathways. You have access to looking at the evaluations for all those projects. You don't have to be doing those levels. So if you have someone that is doing the project that's moderate a panel discussion and you know you're going to be evaluating them, you can come in here, find moderate panel discussion, click on that. It then opens up a training details information that'll go on your educational transcript. You then launch that, and it'll open in a separate browser window the PDF of the evaluation form, which then you can directly download to your computer, bring it up in a PDF viewer, and edit it there or print it out and write in with, hard copy material.
Are these form fill? Can you type in that evaluation form as it sits there?
They are, except for, you see right now I'm clicking on a member name, evaluator, nothing's happening. Well, it's in a save only mode because it's online. As soon as I download it and choose open with Adobe Acrobat, it's going to download that form, pop it up in Adobe Acrobat in a very large format. Come on, where's my backup? There we go. And now you see the fields are completely editable. I can click in that field and start typing. So now I have access to typing directly onto this form, putting information into the field, and then on the second page there are the radio buttons for the different categories that you're editing, you're evaluating on. You fill all of those in and then just simply do a save as to your computer, and you'll have the electronic copy. Several members take their tablets to the club meetings, download the evaluation forms, interact directly with the evaluation form on their tablet, and then email this evaluation to the member after the meeting. So they don't even deal with paper at all. So that if you're very comfortable doing that, go for it. It works on an iPad. I've done that, taken that to one of my clubs. And any of the other large tablet types, but don't try and do it on your phone because it's really small. If you got great eyes, or like a jeweler's loop, you could probably figure out what you're typing. But to get it editable, you download it to your computer, and then you can type directly in at that point. I'm going to say no. So that's where the evaluation resources are. Now, the pages themselves look pretty much the same. Every single evaluation has this front page, you excelled at, you might want to work on to challenge yourself field. And then the second page is all of the different areas with a number, ranking, and a comments field. They have changed every single evaluation resource so it looks the same. This is good because if you do show up at a club meeting and you don't have the right evaluation form, the forms are so universal you can grab a form from another project and use that. As opposed to in some of the advanced manuals that I've got, the evaluation forms are so very different than any other form that you'd have to have that manual in order to have a good evaluation of it. I recommend that clubs get the generic evaluation form, which is available if you go into speech evaluations. And I'm not exactly sure which one. Well, I should probably figure out which one it's called because it's not called generic. There it is. It is. It is called Generic Evaluation Resource. How cool is that? So the generic evaluation resource, which looks exactly like all the other evaluation resources, except the purpose statement will be different and it doesn't have the project name up at the top. So I recommend the clubs print out several of these just to have on hand so that if somebody forgets their evaluation form, you have one to hand directly to them. That is the general evaluation resource. Now that I know it's called general. Generic. General. One of those two. Somewhere it just disappeared. Windows keep popping up and disappearing on me. Okay, there it is. Closing. Perfect. And now, as you can see, I'm looking at my educational transcript, And that generic evaluation resource has populated inside of the current projects that I have that I'm working on. So if you select something, it will put that into your current list, and you can get rid of it by clicking on the Mark Complete. That sticks it into your completed folder. And if I click on my completed folder, it will show you absolutely all of the different resources that I've looked at and used so far in my Pathways journey. So this is one way of cleaning up your active page to figure out exactly what you're working on, is by clicking that Mark Complete button, which I'm going to do on that one. And then it just goes away. Poof, it's gone. Although I'm going to keep generic because I'll use that in one of my other sessions. Okay, well, wow. You have spent almost an entire hour, short of 3 minutes, listening to me ramble on about Toastmasters' new educational program called Pathways. Hopefully, I've been able to answer some of your questions. My name is James Wantz. You can reach me at, and I'll put it back up here again, the intro slide, prn@d7toastmasters.org. I am open to any and all pathway-related questions, or Toastmaster-related questions for that matter. So fire in my direction. Keep a lookout for the Pathways AAA award information, and if you fill out those forms, I will send you a pin. I have plenty of pins. I'd love to mail them to people. And I thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to stop the recording now so that we just end on a high note. Let me start where that stop button is. Cool. Thanks a lot.